Welcome to the joy of coding.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Is this better? I think this is better. This appears to be working for me now. The little VU meter that shows me my levels appears to be working. I don't know what the dealio is, but I've been having some troubles with sound, but let's not worry about it. Hello! Welcome to episode 96 of The Joy of Coding. How are you? It's been a little while. The past 2 weeks, I've been away. It was kind of unannounced. I didn't say anything at the end of the last episode. It turns out I had 2 weeks worth of meetings to attend to. So a lot of that happened, but that's over now, and I'm back. And so let's get to work. Let's do some work now. Hello. I'm glad you're here. What is on the docket for today? Let's see. And so I'm 2 weeks out of practice, so I mean, the fact that my microphone wasn't working properly at the beginning is like probably how this is going to go down. It's like an example of what might happen. I'm 2 weeks out of practice. That's hopefully going to be the only glitch, but I don't promise it because, hey, a reminder, no plan survives breakfast. Things go wrong in this stream all the time, and that's okay. I'm making this stuff up as I go. It's not scripted. It's not planned. I just kind of go. And so when things go wrong, that's okay, and you get to watch me try and get out of trouble. So that's the plan there. So first thing, is everything working? Yes, my mic appears to be working. I am recording. Sound effects are working. Bam. Second thing, yeah, again, apologies for those lack of episodes. We're back. It's episode 96. We're gonna keep pushing forward. If you're watching this on either Mozilla, YouTube Live, Facebook, or Twitch, and are interested in choosing a different medium for watching The Joy of Coding, you might want these links. So this agenda that we're looking at here is actually accessible to you. If you're watching this on Mozilla, it should be in the additional links section below the video. If you're watching this on YouTube, it should be in the video description. If you're on Twitch, I'm just about to drop it into the Twitch chat. Bam, done. And if you are on what's the last one? Excuse me, I just spat everywhere. If you're on Facebook, it should be in the comments of the video, I believe. And there's also a link down here to rate the episode whenever the episode's done. If you want to let me know what you thought, that'd be great. I read all of the ratings. The last thing I want to mention before we get into working is the 100th episode survey. So we're only 4 episodes away from the 100th episode. And I've put up the survey. I put this challenge out to myself. Can I attempt to satisfy the needs of a bug that is, has lots of votes, it's in Bugzilla, and have people vote on them. Our viewers, the viewers of The Joy of Coding, vote on them. And these were the 4 bugs that I identified. And so if you're interested in voting, do vote. I'm not doing anything to prevent ballot stuffing. I probably shouldn't have said that, but open to the end. So yeah, this is what we're looking at, maybe fixing it on episode 100. Although I can't guarantee that it's going to get fully fixed. I'll try, and I might I might not fix it exactly the way the bug describes, and I might not end up being able to write a landable patch. But I'll do my best. I'll do what I think makes the most sense. So I'll try and drive each one of these to some kind of resolution, or try to alleviate the pain in any of these bugs. Anyway, so do vote on those. And so, what are we talking about? What are we working on today? Well, a quick update on some stuff we worked on last episode. So we were dealing with that theme issue, and that was very frustrating because I was dealing with like slow, unoptimized builds, and it was taking forever in my Ubuntu VM. And I eventually figured out what was going wrong. So if you're curious, there's actually I'm not going to explain it right here, but I will direct you to a comment that kind of explains what's going wrong. And that's right. Where is it? Right here. So I'm going to put a link. Whoops, didn't mean to click that. Explanation. So that's in the agenda now, and I'll have that synchronize. And the fix for that landed and bounced last week because I accidentally wiped out a whole bunch of close, minimize, and maximize buttons for a bunch of our Windows users with that patch. And so it re-landed today with those buttons working again. So my bad. I was only testing the case where the compositor wasn't being used. The display window manager composition on Windows is what it's called. DWM compositor. Is that what it's called? DWM composition. So whenever you don't have DWM composition, then the patch worked just fine. But if you did, it broke. So now we just check that case. So what are we working on today? Today I'm going to try and make tab closing faster. And I may have explained this last episode. Let me just quickly check what I did last episode. No, I didn't talk about it, or at least I didn't write it down. So this might be the first time I'm talking about this, and that's fine. I'm happy to kind of explain what's going on. Oh, apparently the mic is saturating. Am I clipping like crazy? I'm sorry, but PTIBZH on the Twitch chat says that the mic is saturating. I'm gonna move the mic up like this. Is this a little bit better? That's how I'm gonna pronounce your name. Is that better? Hang on. PTIBZH. Hey, received. I've adjusted my mic. Better? Okay. So, what are we doing? Let me explain. And Claude also says that the mic is saturating for him. I wonder if Claude and Ptibza are the same person, but regardless, they say much better. Thanks. No problem. Happy to help. Happy to contribute. Okay, so permit unload. What am I talking about? Let's talk about it. So, you may or may not have seen this thing before. Let's see. I did a JS bin recently that. Let me look at my JS bin history because there's an example that I want to show you. JS bin. Where is it? Where are you? Basically, we have this like really awful thing on the internet. And this, when did I last visit? Was it this one? It's probably this one. It is this one. Yes. Believe. Okay. We have this awful thing on the internet, on the web, called the before unload event handler. What this thing is, and this is in all browsers. All browsers currently support this, to our detriment. But whenever a web page adds one of these event listeners, they can then ask the user if they actually... Oh, whoopsie daisy, I don't think I did that right. That was very anticlimactic. Let's try that again. Run that and focus this, and then... Yeah, so this dialog, if you've ever seen this on Firefox, you may have seen it in other on other browsers as well, some variation on this dialog, but basically the page can say, hold up, even though you've asked to close me, are you sure? Are you absolutely sure? It shows a confirmation dialog, and the user can choose to abort the close. You can say, no, stay on the page. And okay, so we have to live with that now. That exists, and maybe we can eventually stamp it out on the internet, because that's kind of a little user hostile. It'd be better, in my opinion, if the page... Because I understand there is a use case, and that use case is the user has some unsaved state that they might want to save, and they might not be aware it isn't saved. And so we show this dialog so that the user doesn't lose that information. But what might be better is then what is it? The navigation. Is it navigator? It's not beacon, is it? Is it beacon? Send beacon? No, it's not send beacon. Oh, yeah, it is send beacon. Closed. Send data on the unloading of a document. Sending the data any sooner may result in a missed opportunity to gather data. So, like, if you have unsaved data from the user, like maybe they've been typing into a text field and then they close the tab right away, you might be able to send it using send beacon, because that can send an XHR request transferring a small amount of data, um, even after the tab has closed. So you can queue that up whenever you notice that the page is unloading, and then send that request off. Now, there's no guarantee that that request will make it, because the user might be offline, or the user might have like, I don't know, quit the browser right after, and then we killed the content process or something. But at least you can attempt to send a request to save that data for the user using something like send beacon. And that's been supported in Gecko since 31, and it's also available in Edge, Opera, and Chrome. Not available in Safari or Internet Explorer. What else is new? So this thing, before unload, we have it, and it's not great. And the reason it's not great is because we have to ask the page to run some code before you can actually unload it. So like, in order to determine, like, because a before unload event handler can determine that we are allowed to unload, even though the event handler is still set. We have to like run the event handler, have it determine whether or not to set a return value on the event itself with a confirmation message, even though the confirmation message is not displayed in Gecko. If we set a confirmation value and we return it, then we will prevent the load. But we could return null or something, or we could not set the return value, in which case we determine, having fired that event, that the tab can close, and then we can close the tab. So what this all amounts to, if we boil it down, is you click on a tab to close it, and we have to ask the tab, hey, do you want to close? And that's not great, because the content process that the tab is running in might be doing anything. It might be garbage collecting, it might be hung because it's running some other JavaScript in another tab that's like trying to, I don't know, render Doom or something in another tab. Who knows what that tab's doing? But we can't close the tab right away because we're waiting for this information from the content saying, can I close you? And that's not great. Now, we have a protection, a little bit of a protection, in that if we don't hear a message back within what's probably too long of a timeout, about 5 seconds, if we don't hear back from 5 seconds, then we say, okay, let's just close the tab. And then we close the tab. I think we can do a lot better, especially because we assume every tab has set a before unload event handler. And so we ask every tab, can I close you, when we attempt to close it. And for the most part, I have a feeling these aren't very common. I've seen them usually on like pop-ups, spam pop-ups. I see them also on like Google Docs, whenever, or forums where they're trying to be clever and prevent you from losing data. But for the most part, in general, most tabs don't set these things, which is good. And it also means we can skip asking altogether. If we know that a tab and any of its subframes, because a tab's content might have loaded a bunch of subframes, any one of those could add the thing, and then they're all, like, if any of it goes down, then we have to ask. But if we know that none of them have set it, we don't have to ask at all. We can just close the tab right away and we're done. And that's great news. And I think that's the common case, and we're going to try and do that. So to boil it down, is this bug. Only message for permit unload. Permit unload is the message that we send to the, more or less the message that we send to the content process. Should we unload you? So on tabs, I've indicated that they contain a frame that has a before unload handler. So that means don't send that message if none of the frames have set that handler. If none of the frames have set that handler, I should say. So that's what we're going to try and do. And I've got some notes. I encourage you to follow along in the bug. There was a nice discussion in here about, potential races and whether or not we care. We eventually came up with a general plan right here in comment 12. I'm going to put that in the agenda. General plan. A more specific plan I have in my notes, which I encourage you to follow along with. There are my notes here in the agenda. So let's look at these notes. So there was some commentary, some conversation with ASON that I recorded here. I laid out an initial plan. I'm actually going to chuck this plan. This initial plan, I think, is not exactly right. I'm going to strike through. I don't think we're going to do that. Um, if you're interested in knowing more about when the before unload event handler was implemented in Gecko, I actually found out when that happened. That was in bug 68215, a really old one. And if you're interested, you can go check out that old code because it's all out there for accessible on Bugzilla. Was it on before unload event? It was in Mozilla 1.6 beta. It was way back in the day. It was 16 years ago it was filed. And when was it fixed? Um, when was this fixed? 13 years ago, back in 2004. So that's how old this thing is. So what's the new plan? What do I want to do? Okay, so we have these things. Each window is what we call a script global or an NS global window, and in particular they're called inner windows. And if you're curious, I'm going to be using the phrase inner window a little bit, and it's a little complicated to explain, but it's all kind of written out here, the difference between inner and outer windows, and I encourage you to read this if you're curious, and then you can come back and watch the recording of this video if you want to know what I mean by inner windows. So what I'm thinking is, when we notice that a document has added a before unload event handler, we want to, hang on, let me start writing this down. When we notice that a document has added a before unload event handler, find the associated tab child and tell it so that it can increment its internal counter. Because even though in the parent it's like a Boolean true or false case, yes, the tab below has at least one before unload event handler or not, the tab child needs to know how many there are so it can know when we've crossed the threshold from 0 to 1 and from 1 to 0 again, because any number of frames could add a before unload event handler, and we don't want to remove it. We don't want to tell the parent that there are no more if we go from like 7 before unload event handlers to 6. So we have to like have this counter so that we know when we go from 1 to 0 and from 0 to 1. And anything else, anything above 1, we just kind of have to keep track of but ignore, not send messages for. So we're going to add a counter to tab child that will increment and decrement as before unload event handlers are added or removed. When we notice that a document has added a before unload event handler, find the associated tab child, tell it so it can increment its internal counter. When we notice that a document has removed a before unload event handler, then it's the same thing, and then decrement, find the associated tab child so we can decrement its internal counter when the inner window is destroyed. So we might not remove the event handler, but we might browse away from the page. If the user has, for example, seen the before unload event handler and said, yes, let's go away, then the inner window is destroyed. We need to tell the tab parent, hey, decrement for this one global that went away. So when inner free inner objects on an inner window that has set a before unload event handler is called, tell the tab child so that it can decrement its internal counter, and then add a message to pbrowser IPDL so that tab child can update the parent when the count before unload count goes from 0 to 1 or 1 to 0, excuse me, and then have tab parent cache a Boolean value for whether or not any of the containing children have before unload event handlers, and then expose the tab parent Boolean via NSI tab parent so that tabbrowser.xml can reach into it, it can read it. Have remote browser.xml skip the before the messaging to the child if it notices that the associated tab parent doesn't report any before unload event handlers. And then, of course, write tests. We're going to need to write tests for this. And we also, I think one of the first things I want to actually do, add some assertions for the following cases. And so I'm going to add some sub check marks here. We're going to assert, and I'm going to add some assertions for the following cases if such assertions don't currently exist. If these assertions don't currently exist. Assert that if a before unload event handler is added, that the inner window is active. I think we want to assert that. We also want to assert that if we're adding a page to the BF cache, then it has no before unload event handler. Assert that if we're retrieving a page from the BF cache, then it has no before unload event handler. So those are assertions we could land like right now. So maybe we'll start there. We're going to start with these assertions. Then we're going to start going through this plan. We'll see how far we can get through this today. I've already spent 24 minutes talking, so let's get some writing done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to check out where am I right now. What I'm currently configured to use debug. I'm going to build with default. I'm going to pump up the font so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm not using debug builds anymore. I'm going to update to central. And now I'm going to build. Yeah, I'm going to mock build. I'm also, while I'm waiting for that to build, I'm just going to quickly check a try build for this other thing I was working on to see how it's doing. How are we doing? Looking green so far. Looking pretty green. But I need more information, more data before I can land this thing. And this thing, whenever I land it, this is bug 1351677, which for the curious, I will put a link into the agenda for. It should give us a win on our tab switch spinner telemetry. So let me just drop that. Let me drop that into the agenda. Side quest bug. That's what I'll call that. Okay. So back to where we were before. We're going to add some assertions when things are added to the BF cache, when things are removed from the BF cache. I believe, if I remember correctly, all that happens inside Document Viewer. When loading a page from the BF cache that's open, do the widget attachment here. Let me just double check. Is there any? This document was not put in the BF cache. If we are here, so we have this destroy thing, and this is after hide, reverse ownership, save presentation. So if we want to save presentation, we're going to sync presentation state. Accessibility, set container, detach container. We might want to add our assertion here. So this is one place. Where though? Destroy. Here. SH entry. Set sticky. This entry. Graph instance before calling into things like sync presentation, MSI members. And then we detach from all these things. So I'm pretty sure this is when we actually enter the BF cache. I believe we're doing something with something called MSH entry. And if I look at MSH entry, whoops. Oh, my nose is super itchy. Pardon me. What is MSH entry? It's in one of these things. An SISH entry. Let's look at the IDL. The window state, save the global window object. So this is like the persisted. Ensure that the cache presentation members are self-consistent. Subtitle, post. Set and get the cache key for the entry. Senator is dynamically added. Does this SH entry point to the given BF cache entry? So that we have this thing called NSI BF cache entry. Adopt A entries BF cache entries. Now both this and A entry point to A entries BF cache entry. Create a new BF cache entry and drop our reference to the old one. So that sounds relevant. All this BF cache stuff. So NSI BF cache entry. Let's take a look at how that works. Remove from BF cache sync and async. And who implements it? NSSH entry shared implements entry shared BF cache entry. And let's look at the header here. Documenting multiple SH entries either due to hash navigations or call to push state. Okay. And then we can call various things on them, like sync presentation state. And so when one of these things is created, where do we create one of these things? SH entry, there's this like, so we'll create one of these new M shared things. M shared seems to be some kind of like common underlying implementation detail stuff. Sync presentation state NSSH entry. So NSSH entry implements all of these things. I think this is what I was just looking at, right? And also has sync presentation state on it. Okay. You know what? Just trying to remember if I'm hoping I can find like I'm hoping I can find. Oh, this is interesting. BF cache doesn't work with E10S. Okay, so that's not a big deal. I need to know more about BF Cache. Like, it would be great if I could find the original bug where it was implemented. Here's a complaint from Mozillazine about backing it out in 2006. Where do they have a bug though? A link? No, but they gave me a date, 2006. They gave me some prefs though. Max total viewers, session history. Pref S history, max total viewers. Those are the things in the BF cache. Update prefs S history, max total viewers. That's when we globally evict content viewers. Okay. All content viewers. Update prefs. Okay, not so useful. That's called by history observer observe, and I don't think I actually care. I want to find where it was implemented. DXR BF cache. So maybe if I look at the provenance, the life of this IDL file, I'll be able to know more when BF cache was implemented. Not really. Well, 2011. These entries for the same document should share BF cache state. In the doc shell, we can call, there's something called add state. I wonder if that's it. Is that still there? NSI doc shell.idl. Do either push state or replace state. Right. Session store. Document, set BF cache entry, and get BF cache entry. Abandon BF cache entry. Probably set BF cache entry is relevant. That's called here in set content viewer. When we set content viewer, we get the DOM document, we say set BF cache entry to be this. So we, and what calls set content viewer? Here. And that's not called in C++, but it is called in document viewer. So this is whenever, if we're going to save the presentation. So if we call save presentation, then we call set content viewer, which calls this, which will eventually say set BF cache entry this on the document. Entry set content viewer this. And then there's this like other part. There's this like permit on can save presentation, which I've seen before. Can save presentation is calculated over here, we don't save the presentation if we have before unload event handlers or unload event handlers. We do not put things in the BF cache. And that's kind of what these assertions are all about. Can save presentation. Has unload. This is essentially what we want to assert right here. So who calls can save presentation? Can cache here and doc shell here. Spinny. Spinny for long documents. And that's this can save presentation. And doc shell calls it for 8258. Here. And this can save presentation. So who's calling can save presentation? Can save presentation. Here we go. Store from history, create content viewer, can save presentation. Okay, so I'm feeling better about adding these assertions. Where is that assertion? Where this is what I found that I kind of want to emulate. I want to add a check for this later on. So I'm gonna drop this into my notes. That's oh, what's happening? There we go. But where do I want to do it? 8258. Right when we're trying to persist, which I think actually we were looking at before. If save presentation, then we do this, which does this. Set BF cache entry, this. And so over here, do we have access to the script global? Script global. No. I have to go one level above. Script global. We have the set script global. Do we have a get script global? So my idea is we could script global, set script global. Get script handling object. I think that's what we want. Get script handling object internal. Get script handling object. Okay. So I think what we can do is here, save presentation. We're going to get the script handling object. We're inside document viewer. Set script. So we're on like the M document, which I assume we have at this point. If M document, is there ever a case where we won't have the M document? M document. So if save presentation, if M document is false, then save presentation will be true. So if M document, now I'm gonna copy paste a little. Assert if manager, assert Moz, assert manager has unload listeners. We're going to assert not true. What a mess, what a mess. Debug. Probably want to if def debug this. Okay. We'll get the script global object from what was it? Oh, we had it before. It was get script handling object. M document. Get script handling object. Dummy. What's the bool? A has had script handling object const. There's some kind of dummy. Bool dummy. And then auto window equals we need to as com pointer it because we need to query interface it. So oh boy, do query. Oh, we can do it that way. Do query interface M document get script handling object dummy, and we'll just like that. So we'll add that assertion there. And now with Moz assert, I'm pretty sure you can also supply a message, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, second argument. Should not persist, should not put documents with unload listeners in the BF cache. can't put docs with BF in. Can't put documents with unload listeners in BF cache. Okay. And now when we retrieve from the BF cache, we have to do it the other way around as well. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to debug, and now I'm going to build binaries this. That should work. This should at least compile. Fingers crossed. Let's see. So now we have to add an assertion when we get out. So we've added an assertion. Oh, is that then that the inner window is active? Yeah, right. We're going to do that. But we're adding a page to the BF cache. It has no before unload event handler, and we're actually adding one, or unload event handler. So that done. So now when we're retrieving from the BF cache, we have to go the other way around. We have to somehow find the place where we're retrieving from cache entry. So let's see if we can find that. SH entry, clear history entry. What was that last one? Close. Stop. We need to like retrieve from the BF cache. So BF cache, I've said that so many times, I know. BF cache, BF cache, BF cache. BF cache. We need to get the BF cache entry. Get BF cache entry. See if who calls that. In get shell. Remove doc from BF cache. When we're creating the shell, get shell. It's probably one of those two places, because the rest of these are kind of special cases. When we're broadcasting, removing docs from the BF cache. So it's one of these two, I think. When we create the shell, we ensure that it's not in the BF cache. Okay. And then over here, if there's a get BF cache entry, we return null pointer from get shell. Huh. Restore from history, that's probably what we want. Restore from history. Let's see. Is there an ns-doc shell in the house? Is there a doc shell in the house? And that build binaries worked just right, so what I wrote magically compiled. Restore from history. We'll attempt to get the content viewer. Previous viewer, get previous viewer. We're swapping order the content viewer set just like embed does. We're we're getting the viewer back. SH entry. You know what? This is a good idea to put everything in scope, in a scope like that. Um, and then restore the sticky state of the viewer. Document. DOM doc. Channel. Times windows, all the child frames. Probably do it before then. Get the presentation shell. Here, when we get the document. DOM doc is what though? Where's DOM doc? Get document from the content viewer. Content viewer, we swap it. Okay. We get the DOM document. Okay, okay. So maybe let's do it right here. And DOM document should exist, right? Well, maybe. And what's DOM document supposed to be? DOM document. DOM document is what? It's NSI DOM document. Okay. And is NSI DOM document something I can query interface to get this, to do this stuff? So maybe do this again. So I'm just gonna copy paste. Debug. We're just gonna slide this back. So I'm saying that again, get at the script handling object. I don't think that's ever called again down here, script handling object. No. Call script, get the script handling object from mdoc, which is domdoc. So get script handling object. What's that defined on? NSI document. NSI DOM document. Does it implement NSI DOM node? Oh, okay. So I need to do this after I get the NSI document. And maybe only if there is a document. We're going to say document get script handling object F manager should documents, yeah, same idea. So same idea. So let's build that as well. And then we're going to make sure that those assertions are actually running. I'll come up with a plan to do that, but boom. Now we have to do this last one. If we're going to add an event handler, a before unload event handler, then the inner window must be active. Or unload. And the inner window is active. So where's a good place to do that? Probably event listener manager. On before here, set event handler internal. Add event listener internal here. Whoops. So if event message, is there one here for like before unload? Key up. A type atom on mess enter on mess e leave. Touch start moz. So we could add one here for before unload in the debug case. Then we will get the window. The inner window, and we'll make sure it is active. We do something similar for after paint. Set has paint event listeners. Got it. Cool. So else if a event message equals not E after paint, but like, so on 323, E before unload, E before unload. Where was I just now? Here. Equals E before unload, or a event message equals E before E unload. Then we'll do our debug stuff now. We'll get at the window. If And then PI DOM window inner, I believe, has hopefully some kind of accessor for is active. Is active. Moz. Whoops. Window is active. Moz assert. Cannot set unload or before unload event listeners on inactive inner windows. Alright, we'll do it that way. Let's see if that compiles. Pardon me for my stretch. It's 2:04. How we doing? Not moving nearly as fast as I wanted to. Oh, doesn't like it because there's no member named is active on NSPI DOM window inner. Shoot. Is active. And is there something called, I don't know, what's this? 10,504. What's the line? We're to do is top level window active. That's top level window active. I'm just saying myself. You can get the outer. You have to get the outer window. Get inner window for target. Is there a get outer window for target? Event listener manager. Get outer as outer. Outer window. So the inner window. I gotta read up more on this interface. NSPI DOM inner window implements Moz I DOM window. Oh, is current inner window is what we want. Because document will keep the same document. Create a new window. What's document.open? Document is the active document. It's not identical to its current name because document will keep the same document active but create a new window. Okay. Say this one. This current inner window. Try and compile that. And if that's the case, if that works, then we're done this, and then we're done this. And then we should make sure that these are working. Then we can go on to these. Now, how do I test to see if they're working? Well, first of all, I'm going to commit the work so that, I don't screw it up somehow down the line during my testing. But then I'm also going to, I think, just do manual testing for these. So commit this one, assert that documents with before unload or unload event handlers never enter BF cache. So one thing I can do now is print F checked is inner window, because that's all I want to do. I just want to make sure that these are running. Checked for unload listeners on creation, and then check on on like restoration on persistent. There we go. Checked for unload listeners on restoration and persist. So let us build that and then run the browser for a bit and see if any of those show up in the printf spew. And if so, I think we can move on. And that'll be good. I expect, based on how much time's remaining, that we'll be able to move to, let's say, we might be able to do this. We might be able to start this. I think we can do this, though, and we might be able to start this, assuming everything up here seems to be working okay. And we should be able to do this and some of this, and then I'll probably have to continue the rest of this on my own, which is a little sad, because I like having you here. Let's play a sad sound. What's a good sad sound? It's another good sad sound.
Mamma mia!
Oh, I like this one. Okay, so let's see what happens whenever I run this debug build, this uber slow debug build with our assertions. If it crashes, well, that means we're violating our assertions. That's bad. It's good that we caught that. Or it means that our assertions are erroneous. Let's find out. Checked is inner window. That's good. I like how, even though this is a debug build with like crazy performance penalty, we are still getting 60 frames per second on these throbbers. That's amazing. I feel pretty good about that, actually. Come on. Hurry up. Hurry up. Okay. Well, where are we at? Okay, so we've got some documents loaded. Where's that JS bin? I was was just at it. So much history. Okay, found it. And we're going to load it in here. In our debug build. And we should see the JavaScript execute, and it should say something like, hey, I made sure that that's interesting. I would have expected it to have said something because we created a BF cache entry. So that's worth looking at. So maybe I did something wrong. Super slow, run. Checked is inner window. That's good. Now we're going to back up. Back up! Just going to take forever. Don't mind me. Leave page. And nothing. I don't see any of our printfs for the other assertions that we added. So those might not be working. So where's my selected tab? There it is. Let us attach our debugger. We're going to attach it to the child 61223. I'm going to close that out. I'm going to break on, what is it? Restore from history? No, we'll start with the destroy part, the document viewer destroy. Just going to take its sweet time connecting. Okay, pause. And then break on document viewer destroy. Sorry, I can't seem to pump up the font in here, so I apologize. Can't really see what I'm doing. Or it might be harder. Okay, so now go back. Go back! Okay, so we hit our breakpoint. Let's see what happens. Do we have an MSH entry? We do not. One was not created. Probably because we set a before unload event handler. So we skip all of that. That's actually okay. So we destroy. We're destroying no SH entry. Do all that destruction. We go back. And now if I destroying a different document viewer, do we have an SH entry for this one? Something tells me no. Because this was on, yeah, taking down an about blank document. So we transition forward. So I'm going to disable this for now. Just move, just move. Okay. And now, let us go to, I don't know, Ask Hacker News thing. Okay, so now we're going to destroy. Now do I have an SH entry? I do! Excellent! So now, we're going to, I'm actually going to reinitialize a breakpoint right here. We're going to continue to it. Oh, there's also this is BF caching allowed. Maybe that's what we should be like checking or asserting. That'd be so much easier. What is BF caching allowed? Is BF caching allowed? I mean, maybe that's just checking a pref though. So is BF caching allowed? That's true if we haven't had disallow BF caching called. And disallow BF caching is called if we use the UDP socket. Okay, so not exactly what we want. So we want to go here. Save presentation. True. Okay. So now we're going to enter this block. We're going to get the event target. There is no event target. Huh. Did I do that wrong? So we didn't assert that. So this is a problem. This is not working properly. So I'm just going to kill everything. I'm just going to take it all down. It's over. You're done. You are done, browser. Done. Kill. All right. So this did not go as according to plan because PI target was null. So this never ran. Maybe I'm not calling get script handling object correctly. What is that argument? I'm passing this like dummy thing. Ignore. What is that? I should probably know what that is. Has had script handling object. Get set the object from which the context for the event script handling can be got. Normally get script handling returns the same object as get script global object. Maybe that's what I want to call instead. Call get script. But if the document is loaded as data, non-null may be returned, even if get script global object returns null. A has had script handling object is set to true if documents have the object for event script handling. Do not process any events or script if the method returns null. But A has had script handling object is true. Do I want global object instead? Is there event target? Do I ever do something similar? Or do I ever get the get existing listener manager? Do I ever do that in here? No. I'm looking at content utils now. Yet another dumping ground of useful things. Do query interface on the window. The window is the document get inner window. So maybe that's all I need to do. Instead of getting the script global object, I just want to get the inner window. If mdocument get inner window. If window PI target, let's do query interface window, and that will be our event target. Okay. So instead of attaching our debugger, I'm going to add some like, if we don't enter this, then I'm going to say some things. I'm going to say printf no PI target sad face else print no manager even sadder. So that's what I'm going to do there. Let's build that. And then we're going to test this again. And this is whenever we are browsing forward. And that's why we test. Building, building, building. Okay, so let's run. Checking the inner window. Oh my goodness. Okay. So load thing. Just taking forever, no problem. We're do. Come on. Load this document up. I need to know if this assert works. I think it's gonna work, but I need to test because I'm curious. Let's play some sounds while we wait.
Oh, wow, 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 wow. Mamma mia!
Okie dokie.
Okay, so let's move forward. This is a link. So if I click on this link, we should destroy this document viewer, which should result in us attempting to create a BF cache entry, because I don't think there are any unload event handlers here. And then we'll see what we tried to do in that assertion. Even if we'll see if we even tried to assert. No PI target still, sad face. Okay. So I wonder if it's too late at this point. If we hide, freeze the presentation shell. So maybe we did it too late. So let's move this. Let's move this to here. If save presentation. And M document. Alright, and then we'll do this. So yet another thing to have to build. Sorry, this is gonna be a little slow. And we'll just, I don't know, play some more sounds.
Oh, yeah.
That's right! Hi-oh!
Just waiting for it to build. So linking the libzool now. Run. While I'm waiting, I'm gonna have a drink. I got this restoration thing. That's actually good. That's going to save me some time. Because instead of restoring all these things, which took forever before, I'm just going to load a simple web page. I'm going to load mozilla.org, relatively simple web page, and not have to do a full session restore. So that's good. Okay. So let's click on a link. Let's click on the Get Involved link. Hint, hint. Right. Volunteer. So that will cause us to browse. And come on, run the assert. Oh, why doesn't that work? Oh, so it's not up here. So for some reason I can't get the event target on the inner window. Why would that be? Is it because why would that be? Get the inner window. Try and get the inner window. Is it possible that the document's inner window is cleared? So mdocument exists, get inner window. What's that going to return? I wonder if there's a better time to get the inner window. SI document, get inner window. Or if it's been removed from the doc shell, then we give it a null pointer. So only when it's been added, if it's still on the doc shell, but if it's been removed, you know what I think I have to do? I have to use the debugger to find out where we're falling over here. Because I thought we did the doc shell removal down here. Let's double check. Detach container recurse happens here at the very bottom, so I feel like we should still be attached to our doc shell. So I think, yeah, it's time to attach our debugger. I shouldn't have shut down. I should have attached the debugger. And we're going over time. I'm hoping I can solve this mystery, though. I'm also retweeting a story that I found kind of interesting. Canonical, apparently, is canceling the Ubuntu Phone initiative and the whole convergence strategy, and they're going to switch back to GNOME. GNOME. Or I think is what I read. Well, what do you know? All right. Let's attach to the child process 62635. I'm going to detach that breakpoint. Detach that breakpoint. We're going to attach one here. Once it's done attaching. Here we go. Done. Okay, now let's browse. To a thing. Okay, we've hit our breakpoint. So what do we know? We have a document, and I can probably inspect that document right now. We also have an M window. This document viewer. Let's see, what do we have any information about this document? Not really. All right. But it exists. I think it's just taking a while to catch up. I don't know why everything's so slow. Okay, so we have this HTML document, and then so it exists, and what we care about is it if BF caching is allowed, and then the inner window. The inner window, we get the inner window if we see that it hasn't been removed from the doc shell. That's not even, oh, NS documents right here. M, where is it? Removed from doc shell. Document state. SI document, maybe that's where it is. M. Removed from doc shell is true. So that's the thing. We've been removed from the doc shell at this point. It's too late. It's too late. We cannot get at the inner window because we've been removed from the doc shell. Can save presentation. So when is this used? Saving old viewer. So I think it's too late. We failed to we're too late. M removed from doc shell is a thing that gets set here in removed from doc shell, and that's a thing that's called from what? If we're supposed to be saving, save to cache the document presentation, that's how we initiate the new load. We may need to check whether it's still safe to do so. Saving old viewer. Save presentations. Saving old viewer. Oh boy. I think I got my assertion in the wrong place. And now I'm inside doc shell, and oh boy. It's a hairy mess, as usual. Save presentation. Capture state. This happens in restore from history. Close. Document viewer will call close on it, and we'll say that we're saving it. And then here's where we say remove from doc shell. Aha. And so here's where we need to ensure that save presentation is BF caching allowed. Save presentation. If there's an SH entry, call close brace. There's probably another place where remove from doc shell could be called. Document close, document remove from doc shell, and document destroy. Wasn't that where we were? Line 8678. NS document destroy. This is different. Document viewer destroy versus document destroy. And then we set the script global object to null. So here, before this, we need to ensure that we're not going to document viewer m document. Do we call destroy at some point? Here in destroy. What? Is there another place? Set document internal. Viewer destroy. That's weird because destroy press shell. We close. We're in show. The previous viewer, we're calling destroy on it. And is there an SH entry? No, there is not. So maybe I'm just not, I'm in the wrong state. Let's go forward one. Get involved. Volunteer. Okay, so now I'm over here again. And SH entry exists now. And now I want to know, have we been removed from the dock shell? I feel like we shouldn't have been. Removed from dock shell, false. Okay, good. That's what we want. And we have an SH entry. So I'm going to re-enable this breakpoint and step through. Okay, then we're going to enter here. And then I'm going to step into get inner window. And then I'm going to probably end the episode because we're going over time and I need to get out of this sweaty room. But I do want to know what's happening here. We're going to get the inner window. Just taking a while to step through everything. Here we go. And now we see, what is this? We have M removed from dock shell. Should be, I could probably just print it. M removed from dock shell. False. So M window is null. Oh, that's why. We have no M window. Was the inner window destroyed by now? Probably. That's probably what happened. So that's my problem. I'm in NSI document.h. M window equals. And really, M document is an HTML document, which is an NS document. M window. All right. Well, I got that mystery to solve, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to do it without streaming it. I'm so sorry. I was hoping we would have gotten farther, but the best laid plans. No plan survives breakfast, and we did our best. So we got a little bit of the way, added some assertions. Hopefully I'll be done this before next week, and then we can talk about it. I can talk about what went on. But that's it. Hey, thank you so much for watching episode 96 of The Joy of Coding. This is a reminder that if you haven't done this yet, I encourage you to do two things. One is to let me know what you thought of this episode. Again, I'm going to drop this link into the Twitch chat. If you're watching this on Air Mozilla or on YouTube or on Facebook, the link to rating the episode should be all around. It's on Air Mozilla, it's in the additional links. On YouTube, it's in the comments or the description. And Facebook, it's in a comment. And I also encourage you to vote for what I should work on for the 100th episode, which will be hopefully in about a month. Now, I should point out that the end of April, the last week of April, I believe, I am going to be away and not doing an episode. So I will give you advance warning before that episode. So it's not exactly 4 more weeks until the 100th episode. It'll probably be like 5. So a little over a month. We'll see. There's still time to vote. Fill that out. Let me know what you think. And that's it. Thanks again for watching episode 96. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
The joy of coding.
See ya.